Hello and welcome to ESL Revolution, everyone. I am your content creator and professor, Dr. B. Not a real doctor. How are you today, everyone? I hope that you are doing fantastic, because I am too. Big shout out to all of our new recruits who have joined us here at Crimson Rebels. Glad to have you aboard, and I do hope that these videos, of course, help you out as you move forward. And also, for anybody who has subbed up to the channel, thank you for doing so. It's definitely helping things out. So thank you so much for all of you who are doing that. If you have not subbed up, boy oh boy, it's free. It just takes a click. Why don't you do it? Yep, right there. That's when you should have done it. Let's try that again. Okay, gotcha. There we go. Now you're subbed up. See how easy that was? Boy, oh boy. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. So, shout out in the video before we begin to Merlin Sortor. His guides are the basis for these videos, and he and I have had conversation by email a few months back, and he gave me permission to go ahead and use those guides that he created. Very grateful to him to do that. So big shout out to Merlin. Thank you so much for all of your guide builds. They are fantastic. Okay, so this is the third in a series of videos that I'm putting together, dealing with the first three are healer related videos. And this one is the Sage Seer, And this video is just an overview video of the class generally. It's not getting into anything specific in terms of gearing or whatever. Those are the next two videos. So stay tuned for those. Video 2 is going to be talking about utilities and passives. And then the third video is going to be touching on things like gear, stats, and power management is the other thing that I like to be able to talk about when dealing with healers in particular, because it is something that we do need to kind of be aware of as we are healing. So let's jump into it here. Okay, so in terms of the Sage Seer, this particular class is quite a strong healing class, for sure. Now, why is that? First of all, they've got very, very strong single target heals in terms of a couple of combinations that we can use, and we're going to touch on that when we get into rotations later. And two very nice AoE healers. Also, the Force Armor, which is this one right here, is also a very, very nice skill. And it's a fairly mobile class in terms of being able to heal on the move. It's quite nice in that way. It also has a nice balance with power, right? You don't have to worry too much about issues of perhaps going down to zero. So that's a really nice thing. And because of that, with energy management, it makes the class a good one to use to start off if you've never healed before. This is a really nice one to start off with, for sure. And the Seer is also one of the three that I think is quite a good class for triage. Now, triage is actually a medical term, and it refers to placing those that you need to deal with in an emergency situation at the top to bottom. So who has only a little bit of health left, who has a lot of health left. that's a triage. So obviously somebody who's, at maybe 30%, 40% healing, or health rather, that's a triage situation, which requires me to act fairly quickly. And we are good at doing that because of the powerful single target heals that we have. So that's one thing that makes this class particularly nice, for sure. Now, we also have a couple of nice skills in terms of our utility and mobility. We have this one right here, force speed, which, if I'm moving this one, where is it? Right here. It gives me 2 seconds, nice bursty movement that allows me to get around in the battlefield should I need to. Now, the other one that's really, really nice is this skill right here called Phase Walk. I can drop that right there. I can go over to here, and then boom, I can go right back. So this is a nice little skill to help me kind of plant where I might need to go back to if there's a situation where maybe I just want to jump out of combat for a bit to give myself some heals, pop that on there, heal myself up, and then force speed my way back in. Okay, so that can be a very nice thing as well. We also have the ability to do some nice off healing. We've got our bubble, which is right here, the force barrier. And we also do have a res, which is... Where did I put it? Revival. There we go. So this is one that I can use in combat once every 5 minutes, but it can be used, and it's a nice thing to have. Now, I do have the ability to CC as well. I don't have really those skills on there. I've got force lift on here, sure. But in terms of just a healing video, I wanted to have my skills on here that were focused just on healing primarily. So that's a little bit of our ability to have some nice mobility around the battlefield. Now, in terms of survivability, light armor definitely is a disadvantage in this class, and so you are going to be a bit squishier, right, compared to, let's say, the trooper or the mercenary that are both wearing heavy armor. There's built-in mitigations in there. Let's see if you look here, defense. So my damage reduction here is 22%. I think if I remember correctly, my damage reduction just naturally with the heavy armor is around 36%, I think, something like that, if memory serves correctly, on the trooper. So just by having that heavy armor, it gives you another 10%, about 10% damage reduction. So it's very, very nice in that regard. Now we do have, the bubble. We do have an instant heal for ourselves, which is this one right here. So if we are in a pinch, we can just boom hit that one, and that is only for us. That force mend is only for us. So it gives us a little bit of that. That extra cushion should we need it, for sure. We do have a number of survivability buffs within the passive skill tree. Of course, we're going to be looking at that later. And even though we have, light armor and we are a bit squishy, there are things that allow us to kind of mitigate that squishiness, so it's quite good. In terms of how the seer kind of performs within a group setting, that's whether we are in a you know, maybe an 8-man, 16-man. Maybe we're doing a flashpoint with our guildies. When we are healing, we should always be thinking about healing with another class of healer, either you know, a trooper or a scoundrel. Typically, when you have two healers of the same class, it can, in some ways, be a little bit more ineffective. Can you do it? Of course you can, but it does help by having another class that offsets some of the limitations of this particular set. So with this, with the Sage, because there is more of a focus on heavy single target, being paired up with a scoundrel or a trooper is nice because they have some really, really decent AoE healing. The scoundrel in particular. The commando, of course, does as well. But I think if you're looking for a single target versus group AoE target healing, you know, going with those two other options as your backup healer is a very, very nice thing. The other nice thing when you are teamed up with a scoundrel and they're running Sawbones with their exceptional healing AoE, it gives the Sage the chance to focus virtually primarily on the single target, which would be your tank, and then perhaps throwing out a little bit of triage from time to time. Now, one thing I will say, I will mention this in the kind of the class overview, is that when 6.0 came out and 6.1 came out, the Sage was not in a particularly good place. The tacticals were not particularly good, and the revitalized Mystic set was also lackluster at best, I think. And in 6.1.1, the discipline really kind of went over, got some love, as they say. Definitely got some love. And so these changes allowed the healer, allowed the seer to have a greater sustained healing for sure. The Empowered Restorer set, which we'll get into later, allows your force armor to do some nifty things. The tacticals got improved. Energy management is a little bit more difficult, but it's still fairly decent. You can build in energy management into your rotations as you're healing, where you simply just don't have to worry about it a whole lot. Okay, so definitely should be back to being a very, very nice, fairly sturdy burst single target healer. So very nice to have indeed as part of the healing repertoire. Okay, that's it for the introduction, kind of the class overview. Video number 2, we're going to be talking about utilities and passives, so stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back to see you again. May the Force be with you.